Welcome to the Housing Digital Micro Conference on retrofit and sustainability. Homes fit for the future now. My name is Joe Broon. I'm the publisher of Housing Digital and today's host of the micro conference. Today we look at retrofit and the huge role it plays in making homes more energy efficient, with dedicated initiatives such as the Social Housing Decarbonisation Fund. We look at how social landlords and their supply chain partners are delivering the goods. What are they doing? How are they going about it? And how is the parlous economic climate hindering efforts or indeed spurring them on? We move on to our fourth and final keynote. It's my pleasure to introduce Emily Batchford, who's the Environmental Sustainability Partner CX at Stonewater. Over to you, Emily.
Thank you. So yeah, as you said, I'm Emily. I'm the Environmental Sustainability Business Partner at Stonewater, and I support our Customer Experience Directorate, which is what the handy CX stands for, which means that I'm supporting our housing management teams, lettings, income, our contact centre, all to embed sustainability in their sort of day-to-day work with our customers. And then as well as that, I'm also thinking about how we engage our customers in our sustainability work. So, you know, retrofit, any of our other programs that we've got going on, I'll be thinking all about customer engagement. So that's what I'm just going to talk to you quickly about today. So very quickly, I wanted to set the scene, thinking about retrofit. We all know that there are many steps before we even get to delivering any works. So we've got surveying, applying for funding, procuring contracts, as we've just heard about, engaging our customers, probably surveying again, mobilising those contracts. It's, you know, a bit of a minefield, and it's sometimes difficult to work out what order we do those things in. I think it's difficult because we need to survey properties in order to apply for funding, but then the survey will trigger customer questions, expectations. So should we be engaging our customers really early on with lots of information? But then what if we don't get that funding, and we've just set expectations really high and then we're not able to deliver? So it's a hard question. And I think the thing that we have to start with is that the most important thing at the heart of all of this retrofit work is the customer in that property. So we need to make sure that they are informed and prepared, and we need to give a lot of time to that process. These are going to be, you know, potentially quite disruptive works. We want to make sure that customers know what is coming, and that also they're educated on, you know, different technologies or new things that are going into their homes. Because the worst sort of outcome is that we spent all this time and money on improving a property and then it's still used inefficiently. So I'm going to give a few suggestions of some of the things that we've done at Stonewater to try and get this process right. So the first thing that we did was, before surveys, before visits, was set out a really clear engagement plan. So we broke this down into every single communication that a customer was going to get throughout the retrofit process, and who was going to deliver it. So would it be us as the housing provider? Would it be a contractor, manufacturer? And how will that be delivered? So was it going to be a letter or an email, a text, a visit? And that way, everyone who was involved was agreeing at the outset what was expected in terms of communication and engagement. We could write letter templates, and we could even, you know, we created checklists for some of the visits that we were going to be doing to make sure that all customers were getting the exact same level of information and engagement. You know, when delivery gets busy and stressful, I think often one of the first things to slip is customer engagement. And having this really clear plan to refer back to did help us to mitigate that. And I mean, it needs to be a flexible plan. You know, timelines might change, or, you know, you might have a customer who struggles reading, for example. So you want to be able to give them information in a different format. But having something like this is a really, really good starting point, and it's helped us. And then secondly, the customer liaison officers have been really important to delivering this plan. So they offer customers a sort of central point of contact to build trust with. And so they should be built into this comms plan, offering regular visits, phone calls to customers so that they feel reassured and that they've got someone that they can ask their questions to. We don't want to do all of our contact in one way. So I think marrying a customer liaison officer, offering that sort of one-to-one bespoke service with letters and more generic communication is really important. And at Stonewater, our key contractors deliver and provide our customer liaison officers. So we work very closely with them to make sure that they're meeting our expectations. But it can be difficult when you've got a really big site and you've got one customer liaison officer sort of covering a lot of customers. So we've also been trying to find ways that we can engage customers on larger scale. And that's where our Retrofit Roadshow events came in. So we teamed up with our contractors and manufacturers and we took retrofit on the road. So we set up these events in some of our communities where we were delivering retrofit works to a large number of properties. So we had our key contractor plus air source heat pump manufacturer, ventilation manufacturer. We had Stonewater's surveyors. We also had housing officers come along in case customers visited and had different queries that we wanted to be able to help them with. And we invited customers to come ask questions. They got to examine an air source heat pump or a ventilation system in person, learn about the benefits, and I think most importantly, just feel supported by Stonewater and by our partners. So this picture here is from our Wiltshire event, where we had 63 customers come along to understand retrofit, demystify the process, and just allow Stonewater and our partners to be visible. I think that was a really key driver to instill confidence in customers and get them on board with retrofit. So I think it's a good idea to plan events, if possible, into that larger kind of comms and engagement plan to go alongside some of the more traditional like letters and visits and things. Next, I was just going to quickly touch on surveys. So we've got a host of surveys that will be done to a property, asbestos surveys, retrofit assessments, technical surveys for every improvement measure that you want to carry out. So that's an important part for us in terms of engaging customers, because after they've had their first few letters, maybe a bit of warm-up conversation with a customer liaison officer, the next thing that they're going to see is surveys. So it's really helpful, and it's been really helpful for us to map out our surveys alongside our communication plan so that we know when they're coming, and making sure that our engagement is in line with that so that customers know why surveys are happening, when they're happening. But even with all of that clear warning and explanation, too many surveys, too much disruption is going to put customers off before we've even started. So logistically, we need to do better. Stonewater is something we've been working on to try and reduce that number of visits really early on. Coordinating different surveys to be carried out on the same day is a really important thing that we can do to help customers kind of ease into retrofit, because we just don't want to create disturbance before we've even started. Otherwise, we're going to be on the back foot. So we're trying to write that into contracts that our contractors will support us in delivering different surveys on similar days, and then we can carry that precedent through to the actual work. So I think continue trying to coordinate better, focus on what the customer wants, what works for them, so that that they're in support of these works that are ongoing, and also continuing to communicate with them throughout. So in that large communication plan I've been talking about, we want that to carry on. We want letters, we want check-in visits, how-to videos for different technologies, all continuing throughout the whole works process, and also making sure that they're landing at the right time. We don't want to be sending a video about how to use a heat pump 6 months before it's been installed. So if we get that communication right, I think customers then are a lot more forgiving if there are logistical issues that we just can't help, because they feel informed. And then the last thing I'm just really quickly going to touch on is funding. So we can do a lot as housing providers, contractors, manufacturers to prioritise our customers. And I've given quite a few examples of some of the things Stonewater has been doing. But if the processes that we're following don't mirror that, then it is really difficult. So I talked earlier about needing surveys to apply for funding, and potentially that's the wrong way around. So when DESNZ are engaging the sector and taking on feedback about the SHDF process, which is a positive, I think our message to them needs to be that we do need more flexible routes to funding. Because if we could agree higher level outcomes at the point of application, then we could select properties and measures as we go, which then means we're engaging customers, A, once we know we have funding, and B, we're engaging them a lot closer to when works are beginning, so that's just a way better experience for our customers. So if you are also ever giving feedback to DESNZ, I'd ask you to bear that in mind. Fab. I was going to quickly summarise what I've talked about, but I know we're probably quite close to the end of the session, so I will just take it to questions if there's anything that you wanted to ask me now, or my email's there if you want to get in touch and discuss some of this later. Thank you.
Feel free to summarise, Emily, if you want.
Are you sure? Sorry, I've got a meeting at 12 o'clock as well, I know, so I just thought other people might be in the same situation, but it's, yeah, I suppose the key things that I've spoken about in terms of aims to get good retrofit engagement are that clear comms and engagement plan from the outset, that's agreed by everybody involved, all the different partners involved, including different ways of communicating, so one-to-one visits, as well as emails, letters, texts, but also maybe some larger scale events that make that a bit more hands-on for customers. Also thinking of our customers when we're organising things like surveys and works. It's so easy to get bogged down in just getting stuff done, but we really do need to focus on doing it in the right way for our customers, so that they're on board with the whole process. And then, yeah, making sure that our comms and engagement is married with our works. So, looking at the two of those things together side by side in that large engagement plan, so that everything's landing at the right time for the customer. And then finally, just touching on customer-centric funding and making sure that if we can feedback, we do, that potentially flexible funding would be a really good way to make that process better for us and better for our customers. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Emily. Have you got any questions for Emily before we close the session? I know you've got a meeting at 12, but very quickly, Emily, what do you find the most effective? I mean, am I right in assuming that the events are probably the most effective way to engage residents? You mentioned 63 customers at that particular example you did, but
yeah,
I'm quite interested in digital versus paper, basically leaflets and letters. What do you find more effective?
I think it has to be a mixture. I think you're going to have different customers that do respond better to different ways of communicating. Definitely the in-person events are fantastic. Having the opportunity to go on that Valent bus that was in the picture on my slideshow, there's air source heat pumps in there, you can look at them, you can touch them, you can listen to them, was a really, really good piece of engagement. But you also do get customers that aren't able to attend. Those roadshows have to happen at a certain time of day, and if you're working or something else is going on in your life and you can't attend that, then you need digital solutions as well, so that people can self-serve. So I think we get good engagement from both, and using data if possible. We collect information on preferred communication methods from our customers, not just for retrofit, but generally, and using that kind of data to see the makeup of maybe a particular site or particular area, what those customers want from us is key to helping make those decisions. But yeah, ultimately, I think you have to offer both to be able to sort of suit everybody's needs.
Thank you, Emily. So just say big thank you for attending today. Thank you to our presenters. For those who haven't registered on Housing Digital, please feel free to do so. There's a whole host of benefits. We have a social wall, direct messaging. You can upload blogs and articles, all free of charge for social housing professionals. So if you haven't registered on Housing Digital, please feel free to do so. And that draws today's microconference to a close. So thank you again for all who attended, and hope to see you at a future event.